Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the Oriental Aromatics Limited Q3 FY21 earnings conference call. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star, then 1 on your touchtone telephone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Anuj Sonpal from Valorem Advisors. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, operator. Good afternoon, everyone, and a warm welcome to you all. My name is Anuj Sonpal from Valorem Advisors. We represent the investor relations of Oriental Aromatics. On behalf of the company, I would like to thank you all for participating in the company's earnings conference call for the third quarter and 9 months ended for financial year 2021. Before we begin, I would like to mention a short cautionary statement. Some of the statements made in today's con call may be forward-looking in nature. Such forward-looking statements are subject to risks and uncertainties which could cause actual results to differ from those anticipated. Such statements are based on management's beliefs as well as assumptions made by and information currently available to management. Audiences are cautioned not to place any undue reliance on these forward-looking statements in making any investment decisions. The purpose of today's earnings conference call is purely to educate and bring awareness about the company's fundamental business and financial quarter under review. I would now like to introduce you to the management participating with us in today's earnings call. We have with us Mr. Dharmil Bodhani, Chairman and Managing Director, Mr. Shyamal Bodhani, Executive Director, Mr. Parag Satoskar, Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Girish Khandelwal, Chief Financial Officer, and Mrs. Kiranpreet Gill, Company Secretary. Without any further delay, I now request Mr. Dharmil Bodhani to give his opening remarks. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Anuj. Good afternoon, everybody. It is our pleasure to welcome you to the Quarter 3 and 9-month financial year 2021 earnings conference call of Oriental Aromatics Limited. I'm happy to report that we've had another healthy quarterly performance with our highest ever sales and profit reported in a quarter. The performance was on back of healthy demand across all our product categories, our aroma chemicals, our flavors, fragrances, and camphor. The sales volume for the quarter have grown by 7% on a quarter-to-quarter basis and 13% on a year-to-year basis. Sales realizations for camphor improved during the quarter on a year-to-year and a quarter-to-quarter basis, while realizations for the specialty and bulk aroma chemicals and flavors and fragrances were flattish. The company was carrying inventory of raw materials at lower ends, which helped improve the margin profile during the quarter. Having said this, the company was on the right side of the raw material curve and on the right side of the selling price curve, and hence we've seen this exceptional quarter. The current margins, I would like to state categorically, are not sustainable margins. On the capex front, as you may already know, the company received its land allotment for the Greenfield Capacity Expansion Project at Maharashtra in the month of October 2020 and has initiated its process for application of environmental clearances and other such approvals. Our Baroda expansion continues on track, and we will hopefully be in production of some of the materials by the end of this year. Now I request Mr. Girish Khandelwal, our CFO, to give the financial and operational highlights. Thank you.
Thank you, Dharmil. Good afternoon, all. So, on a consolidated basis in Q3 FY21, the operating revenue for the quarter was rupees 191 crore, which was an increase of approximately 9% on a year-on-year basis, and operating EBITDA reported was rupees 53 crore, which was an increase of about 93% on a year-on-year basis. Operating EBITDA margins stood at 27.95% as against 15.74% a year ago. Net profit after tax reported was rupees 36 crore, which was an increase of 106% on a year-on-year basis, while PAT margins were 19.09%, which was an increase of 906 basis points on a year-on-year basis. Now, talking about the performance of the first of the 9 months of FY21 on a consolidated basis, the operating revenue was rupees 488 crore, which decreased by approximately 18% on a year-on-year basis. Operating EBITDA reported was rupees 121 crore, which was an increase of about 33% on a year-on-year basis. Operating EBITDA margins stood at 24.85% as against 15.36% a year ago. Net profit after tax reported was rupees 80 crore, which was an increase of about 28% on a year-on-year basis, while PAT margins were 16.30%, which was an increase of 577 basis points on a year-on-year basis. In the current quarter, our cash profit stood at 41 crore, which is an increase of 82% on a year-on-year basis and 7% on a quarter-on-quarter basis. The net debt equity ratio as on 31st December 2020 improved to 0.03 times from 0.06 times as on 31st March 2020. Thank you all. With this, we can now open the floor to the questions and answers session. Over to you, Anuj.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on the touch-tone telephone. If you wish to withdraw yourself from a question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, in order to ensure that the management is able to address questions from all participants, I request you to please limit your question to 2 per participant. If you have a follow-up question, you may rejoin the queue. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Varun Goel from Nippon India. Please go ahead.
Hi. Thank you for taking my question. I would like to understand the margin profile of the company going forward, considering that this year there has been a very significant increase in EBITDA margins. Do we see them stabilizing going forward, and what will be the stable state margins? That's question number 1. And second, in terms of top line, while this year we lost some time in the first quarter on the top line side, what kind of growth rate do we expect on top line going forward? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. I do believe that the margins across all the 4 verticals that we operate in will stabilize in the coming quarters. We've always held with our guidance of 15 to 17% across all the 4 verticals. So this again is a guidance, and I hope that answers your first question. In terms of top line, as we've explained in the past, we are currently at almost 100% capacity utilization across all our plants. And we will be making the capex. We are in the process of making the capex at Baroda and Bareilly. So I think starting FY 22-23, for a period of maybe 3 to 4 years, we would continue to see peaks and valleys in the top line, because as the plants get commissioned, you will see the numbers hitting the balance sheet. So I would say, at an average, if I was to comfortably take a guidance over the next 3 to 5 year window, it would be anywhere between 12 to 15%.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rohit Nagraj from Sunidhi Securities. Please go ahead.
Thanks for the opportunity, and congrats on a good set of numbers, sir.
Thank you.
So the first question pertains to the raw material pricing scenario and the availability. So how are we seeing it right now? and what is our expectation for the next foreseeable future? Thank you.
We are seeing raw material prices are definitely going up across the board, whether it's natural products, whether it's petrol-based products. We are seeing increase in raw material prices. Also, we are seeing an increase in transportation costs in terms of availability of containers across the globe currently. So yeah, to answer you, we are seeing raw material prices and costs going up. In terms of availability, which was your other part of your question, we see no challenges in the near future. I think availability is not a problem.
Sure. Thank you. So the second question is in terms of our user segment.
Sorry, say that again, Rohit?
From the user segment or customer segments.
Yes.
So what is the change that we have seen over the past, say, 6 or 9 months? And what is our expectation for the next 1 year from the customer perspective in terms of the order book, in terms of the newer contracts or the newer products getting launched from their end? So how are we seeing the changes right now, and what is our expectation? Thank you so much.
So, I mean, if you look at how it was when we locked down in March and as we started, getting deeper into this pandemic, and now we seem to be coming out of it, and with the vaccine availability, I think there is a general upbeat feeling in the FMCG segment. We are seeing revival of R&D labs coming into place where they are now starting to talk about new product launches. I think that for us has been refreshing after a quiet period. So we see an increased activity in the FMCG sector, which will help not only the Oriental Aromatics fragrance and flavor vertical, but it will also benefit our specialty and bulk aroma chemical segment. In terms of the order books, I think everything is stable for the near future. I think the demand continues to be there, and I see the changes only in terms of the entire world probably getting onto their feet as only a positive.
That's helpful. Thanks a lot and best of luck, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rahul Jain from Trident Wealth. Please go ahead.
Thanks for the opportunity, and congratulations, team, for a wonderful set of numbers.
Thank you so much.
Dharmil, you did mention about margins.
Yes.
But just to understand this further, we have been talking about margins the last 3-4 con calls, right from the first con call which we started.
Right.
And you have always maintained that the sustainable margins are around 15-17%.
Correct.
But my observation is that for last 3 quarters, I'm leaving aside the June quarter because not considering that it being an abnormal quarter, but we have consistently delivered operating margins of well above 20%. And I understand with the capex now, the first phase of Baroda capex getting over in next 2 months or so. When we go forward, do you feel that with better product profile going ahead, do you feel that this sustainable margin guidance of 15-17%, we can actually see it somewhere around 20%?
Okay.
Is there a possibility? I'm not asking for a guidance, Dharmil.
Sure, I understand you.
Is there a possibility?
Yeah, so I understand where you're coming from. So Rahul, just to let you know, we will continue with our guidance of 15 to 17%. I want to correct you. The Baroda expansion continues, and I think Parag, after I finish answering, if you can give some kind of guidelines on our Baroda hydrogenation project as to where it is in its process. We are hopeful, Rahul. We've got a very robust pipeline of R&D pilot and going into commercializations, high value, low volume specialty aroma chemicals. Incidentally, on January 8th, we've launched 3 new chemicals, again, specialty generic aroma chemicals globally. And the response that we have got has been outstanding in terms of quality acceptance, in terms of pricing point, and we are offering very creative strategies to our customers for long-term price stability also. And when I say that, and that's where I come to, we will definitely, it's every company's goal to beat the guidance, and we will continue to try towards working to that guidance. But we would also like to be realistic that, as I have mentioned earlier, the raw material prices have started going up. Although there is availability, there are additional costs that the business is incurring, largely due to transportation also. And the selling prices continue to stay firm for now. And, we will hope to beat it. But right now our guidance is going to stay at 15 to 17%. Parag, if you can just add a little bit on the Baroda hydrogenation project.
Sure. So based on our previous calls, I think we just finished our first brownfield project, which was the expansion of the multipurpose plant. And that particular project has gone online in November. And we are already seeing benefits coming out of that particular brownfield project. We have broken ground for a greenfield project, which is for a single product. And when it comes to hydrogenation, the hydrogenation capacity will come online probably in Q4 2022. And so we'll see the benefits of that particular capacity coming online only in Q1 of 2022-23. So these are in terms of the timelines what we are looking at. But before that, we will see the benefits of the brownfield expansion, and we'll also see one more plant for a single product, which will come online in sometime in Q3 2021-22.
And just to add to what Parag said, that the single plant that we're building for a single product, that is one of the specialty aroma chemicals which we started marketing over a year ago, a very complex process. And the acceptance of the quality and prices encouraged us to now build a dedicated plant for this single product.
Sure, that is helpful.
Thank you.
And Nami, just with regard to the raw material, I remember last time in the Q2 con call we had mentioned we had built up a recent 200 crores of inventory which was there with us, and a good part of that was inventory of raw material. And you also mentioned in today, a couple of minutes back, the raw material prices are going up.
Yes.
At the same time, the product prices are also firm. Do we still carry a good amount of inventory which could help us for next quarter or more?
Yes, we do.
Sure. And with regards to CapEx, last question.
We do carry the inventory. Whether it helps us or not will depend on the selling price, for which I have no answer at this point.
Sure. And with regards to CapEx, in the last con call, you had mentioned about additional CapEx of 60 crores. You had announced additional CapEx of 60 crores at Baroda.
Yes.
So is there any change in CapEx now compared to what we spoke about in the Q2 con call?
Sure. Girish, can you please answer this?
Sorry. Actually, I missed the question. Can you repeat it?
So, Girish, we were earlier planning brownfield CapEx at Baroda,
yes,
and a greenfield CapEx at Mahad, for which we have just got the approvals.
Right.
But in Q2 con call, we had upped the CapEx guidance. We had spoken that we spend additional 60 crores instead of 60. We had made it 120 with regards to Baroda. So just to understand, as we speak today, the CapEx remains the same as what we have spoken in Q2 con call, or is there some change in terms of the amount to be spent or in terms of the timelines with regards to both the greenfield and the brownfield CapEx?
Actually, see, there is a change in the CapEx amount. Actually, our CapEx amount is now would be around 180 crore in total. And we have already started working on it, and we are in talking for debt also for Baroda CapEx. So, and there is no change in the timeline. As Parag has already explained you, there is no change in the timelines. So, it is working as per plan only. Right, Parag? Can you
Yes,
hear?
correct.
As we have added some products also, so that is why some CapEx cost has gone up.
So as we've gone ahead in terms of our strategic discussion on this greenfield investment, we have realized that there are certain additional untapped opportunities, which by just walking a few more steps, we will be able to get a very positive impact in our product mix. And that's the reason why we have enhanced or increased the number of products in our hydrogenation plant, and which has resulted in this increased capex, and also certain utilities which will help us reduce cost over the long run when it comes to hydrogenation. So these two parameters have impacted the cost. However, these are all for the benefits, and these do not change the timelines for the installation of the plant.
Right. And one more thing, the cost has gone up.
Sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Jain, but there are the participants waiting for their turn. May I request you to please rejoin the queue, sir, for follow-up questions?
No, I think management is answering the question.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yes.
Sorry to
So
interrupt.
there is cost has gone up. There is one more angle that we are putting one product new plant. So that is why the cost have increased. So all these are parameters. The capex cost has increased, but there is no change in the timeline.
Sure. So this is just an additional 40-50 crores of capex compared to what you had mentioned in quarter to con call. Sure.
Right.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'll come back.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ritesh Poladia from Girik Capital. Please go ahead.
Thanks for the opportunity. So I just wanted to understand the math behind sales. Sales growth is about 8.7%. You said volume growth is about 13%. I believe in this calendar year, camphor prices have gone through the roof. So is there a realization decline in other products? Because otherwise we can see about 4-5% kind of a realization degrowth.
Parag, would you like to answer this?
So I think the assumption that the camphor prices have touched the roof, there is some element of fact to it. But it also, we also have to realize that there is also a substantial increase in the raw material side in the last quarter or so. So, I mean, just to kind of peg it against the selling price when the raw material prices also have gone up. So the realization function is I think based on both these parameters. And apart from that, I think for the other products, we are seeing a very steady realization pattern. So, again, on those products as well, we have certain increase in the raw material.
Sir, I'm just talking about of the sales, not about the raw material. So if we have a 8.7% kind of a sales growth, 13% volume growth, then the blended realization is about 4-5% decline. And I believe 1/3 is camphor business, at least 30-40%.
Actually, I want to interrupt here that 13% growth is in the sales volume only. It is on the year-on-year basis, and 7% is on the quarter-on-quarter basis actually. So I think
8.7% is YOY sales growth, right?
Yeah.
And 13% is also YOY sales growth, volume growth.
7% is Q-on-Q sales growth, and 13% is YOY sales growth.
Sir, again to clarify, you have a volume growth of 13% YOY, volume growth. Then your sales revenue, total revenue is 190 crores, which is 8.7%. So definitely there is some realization decline.
Right.
Across product categories, you may have a point that there could be a realization decline, but we may have to just go a little bit more into micro on this and come back to you on it.
Sir, the reason is approximate 1/3 business is camphor. And I believe camphor prices have risen at least 30-40%. So you would have substantial decline in the other realization in the other businesses.
We are not seeing that.
No. So actually there is a sales growth because of the inventory. But if you see in the production side, we have some plant shutdown in the Baroda.
It could be because of that. Parag, you want to specify
absolutely.
on that?
So I was going to interrupt. Because the reduction, if you are saying that the sales degrowth, in fact, if you are looking at YOY numbers in terms of the sales, I think there is going to be a reduction on account of two factors. A, on account of the lockdowns that we had year on year, which impacted this year. And also, when we were kind of completing and fulfilling our brownfield project, we had to take a 20-day shutdown, which was planned in our Baroda site, which had a impact in terms of the production and so the sales.
Sir, I'll take this offline because we need some other calculation.
Yes, we will discuss.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm done with my question. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Kunal Mehta from Vallum Capital. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much for the opportunity and congratulations for a very good quarter. I think most of the questions I have been answered with respect to the previous participants. I wanted to clarify the timelines a bit. So just wanted to understand, firstly on the Baroda CapEx, both brownfield and greenfield. So in the next 12 months, we have this specific brownfield project coming up, which will start contributing to the revenue. And the first phase of the hydrogenation plant will start contributing to the revenue from quarter 1 FY23, which will then be gradually scaled up throughout the year. And by FY24, we would have a fully scaled up the fully scaled up Baroda greenfield plant, which will then start with the full year benefit of the full plant. That's the way it will play out, or could you give us a timeline?
So, Parag, do you want to take this in terms of the timeline?
Sure. So let us clarify in terms of the timelines. I'll reiterate because I said this before. But say the brownfield project, which was completed in November 2020, starts contributing to the top line from say Q1 2021-22. Okay, that's point number one. Point number two is a greenfield single product project, which Dharmil just spoke about, will be commissioned by Q3 2020-2021, which will start contributing to the top line, again Q1 2022-2023. Because it will take a quarter to stabilize in terms of getting the production volumes up and running. So these are the two things. There is one brownfield, which is already completed. There is one single product greenfield, which is not hydrogenation, which will be completed by Q3 2021-2022. Sorry, in terms of the numbers, I'm a little confused. Yeah. The hydrogenation project will be commissioned in Q4 2021-2022. So that's 1 year from now. Okay. So giving it a quarter to stabilize, that will start hitting the numbers in Q2 2022-2023. So these are the timelines for the Baroda projects going forward.
Understood, sir. And Mahar continues to be quarter 4 of financial year 23, I think. We are at least 2 years away from the project starting to generate revenue from us, for us.
So I think for us, we have an internal target of December 2022 to probably kind of have some numbers from Mahar, and again giving it a quarter to stabilize. So I think the numbers will start contributing in 2023-24. Yes.
Got it.
From Mahar.
Got it. And sir, wanted to understand now something on the margin front. I'm sure I think the minister has clarified that where he expects the margin to be. But could you please have an understanding, because especially on the camphor side of things, because from what I can see is that I think we have benefited from the lower GTO prices. So I would just wanted to understand from the cycle perspective, where do you think we are in the camphor cycle, and so will this level of spreads stabilize, and even when they stabilize, do you expect them to revert back to the normal levels, or considering where we are right now in the supply demand situation of this cancer products, because I've been told that these products right now are in a tight supply situation. So, I would say any understanding of this spread which you could give to us would be very helpful, and especially on the cancer side.
So I'll again want to refrain from any kind of crystal ball questions because we don't have an answer to this. I mean, like we've said, the availability is there. The prices of the raw materials and transportation cost is going up. The selling prices do continue to hold. We are not seeing it breaking through the current levels. And therefore, we stay with our guidance of 15 to 17%.
Sure. And just final question from my end. So this selling prices across verticals. Across the vertical. Okay. Let me narrow down. So could you please give an understanding of the pricing which you see on the ingredient side? Would things continue to be firm? I'm sure it's based on the contracts you have on hand. So any indication on pricing?
So I think on the specialty and the bulk aroma chemicals also there is stabilization. There is no drastic reduction in the selling prices at all. They stay stable. And going forward, I think, it's most likely going to stay stable as where it is.
Okay.
The concern is the raw material prices going up.
Understand the volumes, we don't expect them to reduce. Since you're operating at this level of utilization and volumes, we can, I think, so given that where we are right now in terms of our whole utilization curve, I think do we believe that in the next full year, at least these set of base volumes we would be able to sustain in terms of the metric tons production which we have, and we don't see. Is there a possibility that we may see some reduction in volumes going forward as the demand normalizes?
So I can give you guidance based on that, based on our order book. We don't see any kind of reductions in the volumes, and we will be at full capacity.
Got it, sir. That's very helpful. All the best. That's it from my end. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Dipan Shankar from Trustline PMS. Please go ahead.
Thanks a lot for the opportunity, and good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
First of all, wanted to understand how has been the demand for front-end business of ours, and also has the demand for fine fragrance has improved across the globe?
So the fine fragrance continues to be on pressure because duty-free is a very important part of fine fragrance sales. In terms of the Indian subcontinent demand of FMCG, I think it currently is across various categories. It differs, and we see stabilization. I mean, we did have a peak due to the pent-up demand, which the pipeline needed to be filled, but we see it stabilizing.
Okay. Demand for front-end business?
That's the front-end business, which is the FMCG, because our products go into FMCG use. Okay.
And the second question is on the finance-based raw material availability. So across the globe, we are seeing structural slowdown visibility due to lower production in China, and China has already changed from an exporter to an importer. So are we seeing structural slowdown in availability of finance-based raw material? Thereby, the raw material prices.
Hello.
Sorry to interrupt, but the line of the participant got disconnected.
Okay. So Anuj, do we take the question if he's not on, or
move on to the next one?
We'll move to the next question, which is from the line of Ankit Gupta from Bamboo Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, and congratulations to Dharmil, Parag, and the entire team.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I just wanted to understand on this capex part, the Baroda expansion that we are taking, which has now increased from 60 to 120 to almost 160 to 180 crore now. What kind of asset turns can we expect from this entire capex at Baroda?
So Parag, we just did that math. So if you
Correct. So, what you mean by asset turn is the
how much
sales
revenue
that
we
we...
can
Yeah,
take
okay.
Yeah.
So normally most of our capex is in a very kind of...
broad term.
in a very broad term, we are expecting a 1.7x in terms of the investment that we are making.
Okay.
Between 1.5 to 1.7. They'll normally be more, but this is a very conservative.
Correct.
Okay. Right. And normally, how much time do you expect that, this new capex that we have built, how much time will it take for us to reach, let's say, 80 to 90% capacity utilization?
Parag has given the entire timetable in a previous question. In terms of stabilization, it normally takes us a quarter. And I think then in the following 2 to 3 quarters, we would be at easily 80-90% utilization.
One add-on point here is, since most of these products are generic specialty aroma ingredients, we're not kind of creating a marketplace for them. There is a marketplace where we would like to go with a differentiating strategy and offer that to the customer.
Okay, that's really helpful. Yeah. And secondly, on the new product introduction, Dharmil, as you were saying, we have introduced 3 new products in January. I think in the last call you had mentioned that we're already planning to introduce 25 to 30 new products in FY22. So do we stay with that guideline or
absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. And all this new product that we're introducing, all this 25 to 30 products that we are planning to introduce, these are the new products that we have developed in the R&D, and these are low volume, high value kind of products.
Correct. And I also want to correct you. We've launched 3 in January, and we've launched 8 in the last quarter. So we are already up to 11 of those 22 products.
Okay. So the remaining 11 we are planning to launch over the 9 months.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Deepan Shankar from Trustline PMS. Please go ahead.
Hello. Yeah, sorry, my line got disconnected.
No problem.
So the question is on this side. So are we seeing structural slowdown in this finance-based raw material availability because of production in China going down, and also China is now moved as an importer from an exporter earlier. So are we seeing a structural slowdown there?
Sure, thank you. So I've mentioned this in some of the earlier answers. The availability is not a challenge for Oriental Aromatics. The slowdown does exist, as you have mentioned, which has an effect on the price. In terms of availability, we see absolutely no issue.
Okay. Sure. Thanks a lot, and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Shweta Jain from ANS Wealth. Please go ahead.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. So most of the questions are answered. I just have 3 questions. So one was, as you said, the raw material prices have increased. If you could quantify the percentage increase in the raw material, and how do you see the trend going forward, and what kind of impact this would have on our margins?
So I'll start with the last question first. In terms of impact on margins, yes, that is why we continue to go back to our guidance of 15 to 17%. We are still seeing the selling prices holding. We don't know in the future whether that has room to move upwards. So this is a wait and watch quarter for us coming up.
Okay. And so can you give segment-wise EBITDA margins, like for camphor business and fragrance division?
So I have in the past, we still stay with, the mix hasn't changed. It still is 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. And across, it would be 15 to 17%. And the peaks and valleys that you are seeing today is camphor related.
Okay. And so just few numbers, if you could give me receivables as on 31st December, cash and working capital days.
Girish?
I will give these numbers separately. Actually, I have to.
So I don't think he has these accurately
in hand. Actually,
maybe you can reach out to Anuj and we will share them.
Yes.
Sure,
I will share it. No
okay.
problem.
And so just last clarification on the Baroda plant. So the greenfield, you said the product will be the line would be commissioned by Q3 FY22, right, sir?
Correct.
2021, 22. Correct.
Yeah.
Q3.
Q3 20. Yeah.
A single product line.
Yeah. Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Puneet Jain from Fair Value Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Good afternoon. So basically, I wanted some clarity on our Mahad capex. What is the estimated capex amount, and what would be the product line that we are putting there?
So in terms of the product line, I will not be able to share because that is information at this point we don't want the market to know. It would be in specialty and bulk aroma chemicals is all I would be able to share with you at this point. In terms of the capex, it would be a phase-wise capex, and I'd ask Parag or Girish, one of them, to answer this.
So right now, I think in terms of the clarity that we have about the projects that we would be putting in phase 1, we are looking at an investment of anywhere between 125 to 160 crores, depending on any add-on utilities that we want to put in the plant. So this is the kind of capex that we are looking for in the first phase. And as we move on, as we see more and more opportunities coming our way because of the new R&D products that come in the pipeline, we will keep expanding.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Pawan Kumar from Ratnatraya Capital Partners. Please go ahead.
Sir, can you help us understand the movement? I am not asking any kind of guidance, but the reason for the camphor prices being up, is it a production shortage in the domestic industry, or the demand has gone up, or what is the exact reason?
I think it's related to two parts. There was a period where the prices of the alpha-pinene was going up, and we were, of course, on the right side of the curve. And as these went up, being a commodity product, automatically the selling prices were going up. The second part, we definitely feel that there has been a healthier demand. Reasons, maybe people are staying home more. There's more puja activities happening at home than at temples. So being directly linked to the puja platform, we felt that the demand could have gone up because of that.
Okay. But is there any case of a production cut down by any of the existing players?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
That wouldn't affect us because we are anyway at full capacity.
Okay. But to your understanding, all the capacities are functional?
Correct. To the best of my knowledge, they are all functional.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Aman Vij from Astute Investment. Please go ahead.
Hi. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
My first question is on the hydrogenation plant. So, if my understanding is correct, we already have one plant, hydrogenation plant, and then we are expanding. So, could you quantify in terms of what will be the hydrogenation capacity post-expansion, and how many of our products are coming from hydrogenation? Because my understanding, and you had explained it in, I think, 2-3 AGMs also, okay, this is a more technically sophisticated among other chemistries which we operate. So could you talk more about this?
Okay, so Parag, I don't know if we can share the capacities, but besides that, if you want to, at this point, because again, this is sensitive information.
Correct. So I think just to give you a comparison, I think the old hydrogenation facility that we had was a very, very small facility. was B, a completely manual capacity, and C, I think what's coming up now is probably a more secure capacity, a more sustainable capacity, a more modern capacity, and which will be able to handle a wide range of chemicals which can be made with hydrogenation in a more sustainable way. So I think to safely put it, this will be probably hydrogenation 2.0 for Orient. And I wouldn't be going into the products and the capacities because that is sensitive information, which we would not be very, very keen to share as of now.
Sure, sir. So I'm not asking exact numbers, but has it make our hydrogenation capability like 2x or 3x, if you can quantify in that term?
Well, I think, again, not an apple-to-apple comparison because the old hydrogenation plant that we had was extremely tiny and used to handle a lot of bulk aroma ingredients, whereas this new capacity that we'll have a nice combination of bulk as well as specialty aroma ingredients. So, it probably wouldn't be more driven by volume, but it will be more driven by value.
Sure, Parag sir. My second question is on this single product plant. So, sir, is it for one customer only broadly, or is it across customers? And one more allied question to this is, you had talked, I think in FY19 AGM, that we are coming to that stage where we'll be setting up like one plant every year, almost like that. So, is this the strategy going forward to set up dedicated one single product plant? If you can talk about this.
So first question, no, it is not going to be for one customer. It is going to be for the entire marketplace globally. The kind of chemistries that we are involved in and the kind of volume involved in the products that we are going to do, many of them won't require single plants. In the launches that we are planning, 11 done and about 22 to go, I think maybe 10% of those products maybe would need a dedicated plant.
Okay, so we'll continue that multi-purpose strategy which you have talked about.
Correct. The multi-purpose strategy continues.
One of things.
No, the multi-purpose strategy continues. And as the products gain the volume and we feel that there is an opportunity for us to, gain more market share, then we would consider it going into a single plant product. Having said that, yes, even in the current R&D pipeline and what we are coming, there are already a couple of products that will need specific plants. So the strategy will be multi-purpose and dedicated.
And sir, this last thing on this product itself, is it a replacement to, so our customers has replaced us from one of the supplier to say Oriental now, or is it a separately new product for the customers?
So we are in the business of manufacturing, creating generic specialty aroma chemicals. So the market already exists. So it's for us to, like Parag said earlier, gain our piece of the pie with a differentiating strategy.
Sure, sir. Thank you for the answer.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Bhavesh Chauhan from IDBI Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Just wanted to ask on your sustainable margins after we are done with our capex, both brownfield and greenfield. Should it be more than 15-17% that we are guiding today?
I mean, look, we are guiding at 15 to 17%. Everybody would like it to be more, including me, I assure you. But we will stay at the 15 to 17% guidance.
Okay. And so secondly, with Camphor prices going up and significant cash accrual, will we have a higher dividend payouts?
I can't answer that at this point, but this year our interim dividend has been pretty healthy. So we will see. I mean, we are here to progress with being a healthy dividend-paying company, and we will see how that goes.
And so lastly, for our Mahad plant, so that debt equity that we earlier targeted 30-70%, that remains? How is it?
Girish Parag?
Yes, it remains in the same proportion.
Okay, sir. Thank you. That's it from my side.
Thank you. The next question is the follow-up question from the line of Rohit Nagraj from Sunidhi Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the follow-up. So my question relates to the exports market. So we have seen that there has been an issue of container availability, freight rates going up. So does it get impact?
Nagraj, but there is a disturbance from your line. A background
Hello?
disturbance. Can you please check?
Yeah. Hello. Is it better now?
Yes, it is. Please go ahead, sir.
Yeah. So my question pertains to the exports market. We have seen there is an issue of container availability as well as freight rates going up. So has it impacted our exports revenues in Q3? And what do we see it in terms of the current quarter, Q4? Thank you.
Parag?
So there's definitely an impact. I think we as a company, we are trying multiple strategies to explore how we can kind of mitigate that by by kind of doing some forward contracts on containers, etc., etc. Multiple options are being explored. Having said that, there will be an impact. I think as we kind of see the other side of the world with vaccinations happening, I'm sure with the shipping lines opening up to somewhere close to pre-COVID levels, this is a temporary blip which should get corrected. And when it gets corrected, we'll come back to our original. But till that time, we'll definitely have that impact.
Yeah, thanks. So second question is slightly on the growth side. So we know that globally the FNF market grows by about 4-5%. In India, the growth rate is higher at say maybe 8 to 10%. But we have guided about 12 to 15% growth rate. So what is the rationale behind it? We are gaining market share from some other players, or there is any shutdown of some of the probably not so efficient capacities. So what gives us this confidence of achieving 12 to 15% growth in the foreseeable future? Thank you.
So it goes back to our capex. I mean, if you look at Baroda and Mahad, and based on what Parag has mentioned, that it's a 1.5, 1.7x. If you divide that number in the next 3 to 5 years, I think you would arrive at 10 to 12%. And this is largely because the specialty and generic specialty and bulk aroma chemicals that we are investing into, we will get our market share for those materials.
Thanks a lot. That helps. Thank you so much.
Thank you. As this was the last question for today, I would now like to hand the conference over to Mr. Dharmil Budani from Oriental Aromatics Limited for closing comments.
So thank you all for participating in the earnings call. I hope we've been able to answer your questions satisfactorily. If you have any further questions or would like to know more about the company, we would be very happy to be of assistance. We are thankful to all our investors who stood by us and also had and continue to have confidence in the company's growth going forward. And with this, I wish everyone a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of Oriental Aromatics Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.